Okay guys, as mentioned that in this video, we're going to look at specifically how to write an amazing job proposal to catch the client's attention and get you that job. So without even wasting any time, let's get right to it. So I'm going to go a little bit further in the video and I'm going to go and look at our actual job as well and write that out too. But first, before we do any of that stuff, we need to build our foundation. So I'm going to pull up a Word document right now and I'm going to go through the step-by-step process of how to write that proposal and what are certain key elements you want to have over there. So let's do this over here. Let's pull out a Word document. I want to do this, right? If I can summarize this, I would say there are only 3 points, right? 3 major points that every single proposal should have. You can make it more, make it less, but in essence, they should encompass three things. Number 1, you want to ensure that your introduction is there, right? Number 2, the body of the proposal. And number 3, your conclusion, right? Obviously, that's the meat of each section. And obviously, there's a subsection within that I'm going to go into right now as well, right? But in essence, that's all it is. Don't complicate it. Don't make it more than it needs to be. Now, within that, I'm going to put a few small points in there. So number 1, develop a hook, make it unique, make it memorable. Okay, so those are 3 points that are over there for that one, right? And then for the body of the proposal, you want to include 3 things over there as well. Number 1, discuss the client's pain point, number 1. Number 2, in terms of subsection, restate the roles and responsibilities so that when the client reads it, they're going to be like, hey, you know what? This person actually read what I posted over there. And number 3, state your credentials. Okay, that's going to be this in terms of subpoints for number 2. Those are the 3 things that are going to be included in there. And now let's get into the conclusion. You want to have an immediate call to action. Number 2, you want to make sure, and sometimes this happens as well, restate your credentials. I put this as sometimes an asterisk of like maybe being optional, just because sometimes you don't need to do that. But again, it's good to do that as well. Okay, so restate your credentials and remove any doubt. And that's an important one. You want to make sure that there's any situation that where the client might think in their mind tomorrow that maybe this person doesn't align directly with me, or maybe something is not right, that you remove that doubt immediately and you make sure you do that in the conclusion, because that's the last thing they're going to read, right? So keep that in mind over there. So again, your introduction, you develop a hook, make it unique, make it memorable, right? Body of the proposal, discuss the client's pain point, restate the roles and responsibilities in the job description, state your credentials. And number 3, your conclusion is immediate call to action, restate your credentials, and remove any doubt. Now that you have this sort of skeleton or framework of how we're going to go about writing that job proposal, what I've done is I've opened up a few jobs that are in my field. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply these things and I'm going to write the job proposals out right now using the same template so you can see how I go about doing that. Okay, so for anyone who is new on Upwork, all you need to do is go on find work over here and you search for whatever job you want. So for example, I'm in digital marketing and I focus on HubSpot. So as you can see over here, there's 1,000 jobs that have opened up, and already in advance, what I've done is I've opened up 3 to 4 jobs that I felt were, noteworthy, and I felt like they were the client was actually looking for a freelancer as well. Okay, so these are some of them that I opened up over here. So let's get right into it. And I'll go through that step-by-step process using that framework now, okay? So number 1, first thing that I do always, I'll copy this and I'll put this in a Word document, right? Just so that I can kind of work on it, okay? I'll put this over here. I have this text over here. Okay, so now using this, let's go back over here. So we're going to go into looking into our introduction, develop a hook, okay? Over here, so I would say develop a hook. There are probably a few things that people can do in terms of making it noteworthy and a hook that stands out, right? So this is some of them that I use, right? Some of the ones that I use. So for example, I'll do something like your job proposal jumped out at me. Right? That's something I start with sometimes. And then the reason why I do that is that when someone looks at that, they go, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on? Like, why did that person say that? Okay, so that's one. Sometimes I use that one, right? That's one over here. Another one that I use over here sometimes, and I'll say this over here as well. I just completed the exact job requirements last week for a different client. Right? That's another one as well, where the person's going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. This person is the most experienced person because he literally just did the exact job for someone last week. Okay, so your job proposal jumped out at me. I completed the exact same job requirements. Another example of this is this job directly aligns with the skills that I possess for this role. Right? So you're removing any doubt right from the beginning by saying that, listen, whatever you need, I'm the one. Right? And again, I'm not saying that my hooks are perfect. I'm not saying like I'm an expert at this by no means. I'm still learning on this platform every single day. This is what I've used and it's worked for me. And I'm just sharing that, right? I know for a fact it's worked because I've gotten jobs. But again, you could, as you think about this yourself, you want to keep in your own mind, what are certain hooks where someone who's looking at it tomorrow, they're going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. I got to look at that again though, right? You want to just make them pause for a second. And that's the most important thing over here. Number two, and this kind of ties into number one as well, is you want to make it unique, right? Because sometimes you may have a hook where you may something like, hey, you know what, this job directly aligns with me. And that is not really something that's as unique though, right? That's not really something that when someone looks at it, they're going to be like, oh, wow, this is interesting. I've never heard that one before, right? So one point that, as I mentioned before, is that having a hook, but the hook has to be unique, right? Having a hook by itself could be any hook, right? You could think that this is the hook though, but if it's not unique, it doesn't matter. And the best way I say that to someone is that if you're applying for a job, think to yourself, what is something that that person would never expect? Put yourself in the shoes of the client and think to yourself, what is something that you would say in your proposal that they would never expect? And you have to do some brainstorming on this, right? So it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just, I would say, right over here. So let's take the second example over here, make it unique. Think of how can you make it unique? So for example, and here are certain things that I've done in the past as well. So develop a hook to make it unique over here. So what I've done is over here is number one, for example, I don't start with hello, my name is. Right? I've noticed that typically what happens, people start the proposal, hi, my name is so-and-so, I have this many years of experience in this industry, blah, 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 and they go in that direction, right? And it's the same standard introduction that when you're a client looking at all the proposals, it's the same thing. Hi, my name is Jason, Lisa, whoever though, right? So for me, one way of making it unique, I get right into it though, right? So if I use one of these hooks over here, as I mentioned above, I make it unique by I don't start with hello and I get right to the point, number one, right? Number two, I make it unique by speaking to them directly. And how do I do that though? What I do is I go in over here and I look at these jobs. And what I do is if you go into the section over here, you look at the client's recent history, look for the client's name. And how do you do that though? Because you'll notice that over here, this is where the freelancer gets obviously their feedback, but then the client also gets feedback as well. And look to see if someone has used the client's name in the feedback. And look at this though, you go down, go down, go down. Great experience collaborating with Ashley, okay? And sometimes there may be scenarios, and for example, as I just noticed over here, there may be scenarios where there may be multiple people. Like for example, if you look over here, it says, it was a pleasure to work with you, Mario, right? Because it may just be that there's multiple people using that account. That is typically not the norm, okay? But you have to take that in consideration sometimes as well, right? So start with the name. That's the second point over here. And then taking into consideration when you say make it unique. So as you can see over here, develop a hook and then make it unique over here. I don't start with the name with hello, my name is. I start with the name of the client. And the third point is keep updating your hooks, right? So these hooks that you have over here, remember, you use them for a certain period of time. Sometimes you may need to make certain adjustments, may need to update them as well, okay? And that's where I would say that when you make it unique, if you focus on these things and making it unique, for the most part, it'll stand out though, right? So as I mentioned before, you have your hook over here and you want to make it unique. Now we get to the point that making it memorable. Making memorable doesn't have its own 3 points that I'm going to mention over here. That's just a third point that ties in all the stuff together. So if we were to take this over here and this over here, so let's just say we're working on this job description over here, or this job proposal over here, we could take this and say, not even with the hello, and I could just say something like your job proposal. So this is going to be freelancer response, right? This is going to be our response over here. Freelancer response. Your job proposal jumped out at me as I just finished the exact same project for another client 2 weeks ago. Okay. So no hi, hello, nothing, right? So I focus on making unique. And at the same time also, I can use the name over here and I can say, Ashley, your job proposal jumped out at me as I just finished the exact same project for another client 2 weeks ago, okay? So that's the introduction part over here. Now over here, we're going to focus on the body of the proposal, okay? So that's very, very important because that's the meat of what you want to say over here. And you know what I can do? I can just take this over here actually, and I can go to the submit a proposal section just so that it's more organized here. And I'm going to go down over here and I'll put this part right here. Okay, so that's going to be our introduction that's already done now. Okay, so I'll remove this from over here. Now we're going to get into the body of the proposal, discuss the client's pain point. Okay, so let's open this up over here. And what do we see over here? Champion recently built its site, www.champion.us, on HubSpot. We are seeking HubSpot marketing automation guru to help us configure it's supposed to be our advertising and email onboardings. And it says over here, set up the ability to target ads at staff who work for a particular company on LinkedIn, configure Google Ads functionality, QCR configuration of Google Ads in HubSpot, configure connections to Instagram page, configure meta ads tracking code for events on Facebook. HubSpot, update email workflows for new members who join our email list, set up dashboards to track advertising. Okay, the pain point, right? So they're not going to mention this explicitly, but the pain point right over here is they're looking for someone HubSpot marketing automation. That's they're key over here. The marketing automation of everything, right? This is all extra stuff. Yeah, they're going into details, but that's going to be their main pain point that they want to, and it says right over here, help us configure our advertising and email onboarding, but within the context of automation. That's the most important part. Okay, so when I go to build it out now, so what we're going to do is take that pain point and I'll put it over here. So, and I'll write it out like this. Then I'll say, I know exactly what you require when you mention that you are looking for a marketing automation. And what was the text over here? Marketing automation guru. Okay, specifically in the areas of, and then again, advertising and advertising and email onboarding. Okay, so you notice that we're simply restating the pain point, but we're making sure that that pain point is mentioned, because the client is when the client is posting the job right in the beginning, to make sure to restate that, even though it seems like you're just saying the same thing over and over again though, but it's for the client, they're going to be like, jackpot, this person knows what I'm talking about. Right? So that's what we're doing in the body over there, right? Now let's go to the second point. What else are we going to do in the body over here? So we're going to go in the body, restate the roles and responsibilities, okay? So what are the roles and responsibilities? You see that it is mentioned very, very clearly over here. And all you need to do is just simply say, and it could be anything, right? Just, I am well versed in, and go back over here, configuring Google Ads, right? So just very simple, configuring Google Ads in HubSpot, right? So I mentioned it twice over here. So I'll just say HubSpot. For example, you can say something like updating email workflows, and setting up dashboards, right? You don't have to restate everything, right? But you mentioned a few of them, so the person goes, oh, wait a minute, this person, the roles and responsibilities that I had for this role, this person is saying specifically that I know how to do this, I know how to do this, I know how to do that. Though you're being very specific and not being general vague over here, right? They don't, no one wants someone who's vague and kind of saying, I talk a good game on a surface level, but I don't know the specifics of it, right? We want someone who knows exactly what we need. Okay, so now let's go back over here. What is the third point over here in the body of the proposal? You want to state your credentials. This is very important now, that you don't do this in the beginning, because if you do this in the beginning, what you're setting yourself up as is someone that, hey, listen, I have all these credentials, and what the client is going to do is take your credentials and compare with all the 30, 40 other proposals, and he's going to see like, oh, wait a minute, who has the most credentials? And you'll never win that game, because there's always going to be somebody who simply on paper looks like $1 million, but in reality can't do the work. So you never focus on credentials in the beginning, because you don't want the client's focus to go towards your credentials, even though if you have a lot of credentials or don't though. But the credential game doesn't get far though. It gets far when first you acknowledge the client's pain point, and then you put it afterwards. Don't put it as the first thing. That's where the problem happens. And then you can say over here, in my 5 years of experience on HubSpot, I have acquired certificates focus specifically on, and again, you go back over here, and obviously you don't want to make this up either if you don't have it, but in general, if you have the certificates, you mentioned over here, specifically for email marketing, specifically for dashboards, specifically for Google Ads, right? Email marketing and dashboards. Right? You can go on further and further if you want and elaborate further, depending on the certificates and skills that you have, right? Sometimes you can start with this by saying that, oh, in my 5 years, to show that you have many years of experience, or you can focus on the certificate side. But the main thing is you want to then acknowledge it, understand the client's pain point, but at the same time, then supplement that by saying that, and by the way, I have the credentials and I have the experience to do what is required, okay? And that becomes the middle part over here. So as we go on the top over here, we see over in the body of the proposal, the third point over here, state your credentials. And that's exactly what we did over there, okay? So now that that's done over there, we'll go open this up a little bit more. Okay, conclusion. Immediate call to action, right? That's the first thing that you want to do. So when I look at this, right, I know immediately what stands out to me, that I want to make sure that they're not going to read my proposal and say, oh, you know what, maybe I'll get back to them after the meeting tomorrow or the next day. Or, I get this a lot as well, where the client will be like, schedule a time, with me for next week. I don't want that. There's a situation where a client had told me this just about, I think like about a couple of weeks ago. And the client's like, hey, you know what? I'm very busy these days. Can you schedule a call with me maybe next week or the following week after? I'm doing a few interviews. So why don't you, put yourself in there as well? I was like, no. Are you available now? And he's like, and because he was talking to me back and forth on Upwork, and I'm like, and he's like, sure, I got a few minutes right now. I'm like, let's do it right now though. And we did it. I got the job the next day, right? So again, you don't want to wait, and that's why it's very important that in your call to action, you make it very, very immediate. So if you have a few minutes today, not tomorrow, today, I would love to hop on a call with you to discuss your business needs and how we can work together to ensure your HubSpot requirements are fulfilled. right? And if you notice one thing is that it's not about I'm talking specifically about the client, and I use the word, I would love to hop on a call with you to discuss your business needs, how we can work together, right? I've eliminated everything about myself over here, because now what's going to happen is this person is going to be like, you know what, this person is invested in me, my company, my needs, right? So that's very important over there. I didn't mention that before. I just remember that right now as well, is that you want to make sure that you move away from anything related to right? A little bit you have to do it when you talk about your credentials, but wherever you can avoid it, make sure you avoid that as well. And you want to focus more on the client's needs, right? So let's go back over here to the top. What do we say over here? Immediate call to action, restate your credentials. I put this as optional. And the reason why that is that sometimes you have to look at the job description as well. If the client is very adamant, like, oh, I'm specifically looking for, and I've had this in previous jobs where the client is like, oh, I want someone who has 5 years of experience, and I want you to name me all the certificates you've acquired. In that scenario, I would put that part again, put something along the line. I'm going to delete this once I write this over here, but in case you had that situation come up, or after this line, I would say, I would like to emphasize that I have 8 of the 10 certificates that you require for this role and have over 5 years of experience with HubSpot, right? That line I would put in there when a client is heavily focused on certificates and credentials. Okay, and I've seen that happen from time to time as well. That's why I put that as optional. So I wrote that line out over there in terms of if you had to address that, what you would say specifically over there, okay? But we won't put that in this one because it doesn't seem like the client's going in that direction, okay? And then last but not least, remove any doubt, okay? So if there's something, and here's how you go about doing that. If there's something in this job description where you're not comfortable with, or you want to re-emphasize, make sure you remove any doubt, right? And the best way to do that is look at your profile. And if someone was look at it from the client's perspective, if you look at your profile, is there something that he would look at that and be like, I'm not really sure? Maybe it's the fact that you don't have that many certificates. Maybe it's the fact that you don't have that many jobs. Maybe it's the fact that you just started out on HubSpot, whatever it is, right? Remove any doubts, right? Let's just say hypothetically at that time, there's a doubt there that you recently started with HubSpot. So you have experience, but on Upwork, you're recent over there. So you can write something like this over here and say, I understand my Upwork profile does not reflect any jobs with HubSpot. And then you can go on and say, however, I would like to point out that I have, and again, you can just say worked with over 30 clients outside the Upwork platform over the past 5 years, right? So in this situation, let's just say I'm new on Upwork. I don't have that many jobs. I can put this over here so that when the client reads it, because immediately once you grab his or her attention, they're going to be like, let me go on their profile. And if you know they're going to go on your profile and say, oh, wait a minute, they don't have that many skills, or they have that one job in a different field and they're applying for this thing right now, you want to tackle that over here and remove any doubt whatsoever. And to be honest, that's pretty much it. After that, just invest, love it. That is it, all right? I understand in my specific scenario, that's not going to apply to me. So what I'll do is I'll take out these 2 lines over here that I had written down. But just for someone who's looking at this, they can keep that in mind as well. And that's it, right? Now, in this situation, this question comes up a lot as well. Okay, describe your recent experience with similar projects. Okay, and for a lot of people, they spend so much time and energy making sure this is accurate and this is correct that they're exhausted. They're like, wait a minute, I have to restate the whole thing again? No. What you want to do over here is that be concise, but at the same time, be specific. That's what I recommend over here. So in this scenario, you can say something like, I have mentioned my skills above, but I am happy to discuss 2 projects where I performed similar work. Okay, and then you can say something along the lines of like, 1, I worked for a company and again, I'm just hypothetically making this up now, healthcare industry, and had to set up their entire email automation templates. Number 2, and again, you can go back and open the job again over here, and let's see, configure Google Ads functionality. Okay. Number 2, a previous client reached out to me to set up and configure their Google Ads account on HubSpot. Right? So what you want to do over here is that give specific examples. And I cannot emphasize that enough though. Don't be general that I work with a client and it was great. No, be specific, because this is the perfect opportunity to re-emphasize certain things, Google Ads, email workflows, right? So you want to be specific over here so the person can see that. And then obviously you go over here, you go to your attachments. So I can open this up right now and I can say desktop. So I have my HubSpot training certificates over here. I can open up one that's relevant to that. Then I typically put that for my attachment because for me, I've noticed that for a lot of people when they're looking for HubSpot experts, they're looking for credentials. It may not be the case for every single one. In this situation it is though. And then that's pretty much it though, right? So I'm not going to get into the boosting part of it right now. So I'll just send it for 6 connects. That's a different topic for a different video, but then I can send it off over here, right? And there you have it. We've just applied for a job over here. Okay. Now, this is all applied for over here. I'm going to exit this one and let's do another example of this one as well. Okay. So let's look at another one as well. So this one is, I like this one. And sometimes what I do is I read for the client pain point to see how strong that pain point is. So we think there are ways to improve our current process. All right. So this one is interesting as well. I'm definitely looking forward to applying to this one as well. And let's look at this one though. So outbound telemarketing, Google lead forms, email marketing, landing pages, HubSpot CRM, open to suggestions, email platform, SMS marketing, right? And it gives, and this is actually really good though. It gives attachment over here. So if you go in over here, you can see what it's all about. Oh, wow. So very detailed, right? Facebook leads, cold emails, Google lead forms, right? So it's very, very specific in terms of what they want. I like it. I like when the client puts the extra emphasis in there as well, okay? So let's go over here now and let's do the same thing again now. So submit a proposal. So what we'll do over here, we'll copy this one again. We'll go to that same document and we'll remove this one and we'll delete this part over here. So we're looking for an expert in HubSpot who can help us better utilize the system overall, right? Someone with vast knowledge of HubSpot CRM, understanding how to optimize HubSpot analytics and workflows for better visibility on ROI, and transparent tracking from lead to sale. Okay, so that's an important one, transparent tracking from lead to sale. Okay, we're open to hiring multiple people if you can't find someone with all this experience. Therefore, please apply if you have experience. So that shows your willingness to work as well, right? So that's a very good thing. So let's get right to it. Let's go to submit a proposal. All right, so I'll get over here. I'll just put down a budget for now as well. That's fine. And they don't have extra questions as well, which is always good, right? Less work over here. Okay, so now let's get right to the proposal. Open this up over here. Okay, so as we talked about right in the beginning, we're going to develop a hook, right? So what is that hook going to be like? Okay, so I'm going to think about this and I'm going to say, you know what? And one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and view job posting. Let me get the guys, the person, lady, or individual or man's name over here. Let's see if we can find Jen. There you go. All right. So we got Jen right over here, right over here. Good. So we have that over there. Jen, your job requirements directly align with the skills that I have on HubSpot. This job jumped at me as I am working with another client who has very similar requirements. Okay. So right then and there, if I go back to what I mentioned over here, is that I want to develop, introduction should be having a hook, right? Making it unique and making it memorable. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself that when I write this, is there someone else who's going to also say this? Probably not, right? That your job directly aligns with me, that I have on HubSpot, your job jumped out at me as I'm working with another client who has very similar requirements. Probably not to that extent, right? I'm not using the hello. I'm getting right to the point saying that, hey, listen, my skills. And because as the client mentioned over here, if you read what they've said over here, they've said, we're open to hiring multiple people if we can't find someone with all this experience. So when they see someone with all this experience, that's immediately going to catch them. And that's going to be a unique, memorable hook, right? So that encompasses all those things right off the bat, though, right? So we have this right over here, and we'll go over here, okay? Number 2, body of the proposal, discuss the client's pain point, okay? And I mean, this is very easy now. Right over here, we have been using in HubSpot, we have been in HubSpot for over a year, though we think there are ways we can improve our current processes. Right off the bat, I know for a fact I'm going to tackle that point though. I completely understand your perspective of wanting more from HubSpot as it is a comprehensive CRM platform and offers so much, but can be overwhelming for businesses if they do not have a background in HubSpot. Okay. So right then and there, I've tackled that pain point over there, right? And as you can see, I'm doing the same pattern over and over again now, right? I've tackled the pain point, restate the roles and responsibilities. Okay. So now I want to look over here. I'm going to look into see, okay, wait a minute. Now what's going on over here? Vast knowledge of HubSpot CRM, understanding how to optimize HubSpot analytics, transparent tracking from lead to sale. Okay, from your job description, I believe the main focus is on developing a system or developing a process that helps you track a lead from, and what was that mentioned? Which mentioned tracking from lead to sale, from track a lead from beginning to the sale. Right, so again, I'm just restating the same stuff, but again, I'm making sure that the person knows that I've understood it. Tracking sale workflows, having the correct workflows and automations, and right over here, and understanding how to optimize HubSpot analytics, and most importantly, understanding HubSpot analytics. When I go back over here now, the last thing that I want to do over here is state your credentials. Okay, I have over 2 years of experience HubSpot and have completed 6 certificates in various categories ranging from automations, sales, and the reporting and reporting. Okay, so that right there is the piece that I mentioned before, which is the credential part of it, right? And you want to emphasize that over there, right? Go back over here. Now, immediate call to action, right? I would love to hop on a call with you today if you have a few minutes to discuss your needs and further understand the requirements for this role, right? Go back, research your credentials. In this scenario, I don't, I'm kind of wavering because there is a possibility where if someone's saying is, hey, listen, you know what, I'm not really sure if there's someone who fits all these credentials, that you double down on your credentials and say that, look, I have all these skills, but at the same time, I don't want to put myself in a position where it seems like they have a lot. Just the way the job is written, it seems like they have a lot of requirements, and that's where it's saying that we're open to hiring multiple people. And I don't want to put myself in a situation where I project myself as being this all everything, and then I get there and I find out they need like everything from A to Z, and I don't have all the skill sets from A to Z as they require. That there may be a disconnect over there between the client and myself. So in this scenario, I would avoid doing this part, which is restating your credentials. But in this part, I would put a little more emphasis on this part, remove any doubt. And the doubt, not about my profile, but the doubt that they have, we are open to hiring multiple people if we can't find someone with all this experience. And the way I'll do that is this though. I want to be transparent with you when I state that I'm not an expert on every single aspect of HubSpot, as platform is vast, or just say encompasses so many different aspects of a company. However, I'm confident in that I understand your requirements and believe that I can assist with your needs. So you see over here, I took what they've mentioned over here, which is that, hey, listen, you know what? Like, even if you can't find someone, we're okay with that because we understand how big it is. And I re-emphasize that part and that doubt right over here by saying that, hey, listen, it's impossible because HubSpot encompasses reporting. Reporting is something that someone who has a background in finance. HubSpot encompasses sales. HubSpot encompasses marketing. HubSpot encompasses, so many different departments. For someone to say that, wait a minute, I'm an expert in marketing, I'm an expert in sales, and I'm an expert in finance and all the other things, you're lying, right? Like, you can't be an expert in all these different things. You can be really good, but you can't be that, right? So I pinpoint that thing, but then I brought it right back by saying that, however, I'm confident in that I understand your requirements and believe that I can assist with your needs. And say something like, and in situations where I don't know the answer, I have the willingness to do the required research, find the solution. And that's key over there, right? End it off, best, that's it. Same thing over here again. And now in this one, I'll probably put in one over here, and then I might go back again and put a second one over here as well. Let's go into inbound marketing just to give them another one. And then I can go back over here, sales, there. Okay, so I got 3 files over there, and that gives enough for them to be like, hey, you know what, this person knows what they're talking about. Send for 6 connects, and there you have it. That is it. I know that it takes a long time to understand different things. I understand that as well, right? But that's literally it. The one point I'm going to point out over here, and it's something that comes up again and again and again, though, is that for a lot of people, they always wonder, should I have, maybe just buy these standard templates, right? Should I just buy them and use them and do it that way? Yes and no. For someone who's in a country where English is not your first language, I would probably highly recommend going online to, or there's so many places where you can buy sort of standardized templates to use for Upwork and getting that. The reason why that is that, just think about the scenario. If English is not your first language and you're struggling to write proposals, and at the same time your proposal, what the client is going to read to then check out your profile, if your door to entry is so difficult, it doesn't make sense to not invest a little bit of money in order to buy some templates that you can use as having the correct English over there, having the sort of the body of what you want to say over there, and then adjusting yourself, right? So I would highly recommend that, okay? Even for myself, I offer that as well, and the link is found in the description where you can get some standardized proposals. I highly recommend that. However, if English is your first language, right, I would say it's a 50-50 answer over there. And the reason why I say that is that if English is your first language, if you can write your own proposals, great. By all means, do that though. Sometimes what ends up happening is that you don't, you kind of want to have a standardized package or template where it's like you can kind of go in there, quickly just put the stuff in there, and then apply for the next job, right? In that situation, if you're looking for speed and efficiency as opposed to, and trying to cut down in terms of the time spent, because take into consideration, you might spend 30 minutes on a proposal or 25 minutes on a proposal. Do that by 4 jobs a day or 5 jobs a day, you're spending an hour and a half. So if you can cut down maybe even like 10 minutes from each of those proposals by getting a standardized template that already has these things included over there, it makes sense, right? But still, when you do that, do not copy and paste. That's where you still have to make sure that you have the unique component of that you're reading every single job, right? So take that into consideration as well. So I do recommend that if you want that, it is found. I have a link below in the description. You can take a look at that as well. But as I've shown over here, the process of doing that is pretty straightforward and standard. Don't get into long copy and pasting these long descriptions of what you're going to do. No one's going to read that, and it's irrelevant though. Okay, follow these things. Keep it simple to the point. But if you make sure to cover these things, and just to end the video, I'm going to re-emphasize the same points again, just so that we're clear. Number 1, have an introduction, develop a hook, make it unique. Make sure that no one else is, if someone reads it, for a fact, no one else is going to read those points though, and make it memorable, okay? Number 2, body of the proposal. Discuss the client's pain point right off the bat. Restate the roles and responsibilities so that the client goes, oh, wait a minute, he knows exactly what I'm talking about over there, or he or she. And then number 3, state your credentials. You want to make sure that the minute you say all that stuff, you put your credentials right there to give it that cushion and support that you understand, but you're also qualified to understand what is required over there. And then number 3, you have your conclusion. Make sure that immediate call to action, not tomorrow, not the next day, but right now, the immediate call to action, restate your credentials. Again, I put that as optional, depending on the circumstances. And last but not least, make sure you remove any doubt, because at the end of the day, no one's profile is perfect and no one is perfect. So look at yourself and say, hey, if I was a client, what would be the weakness in my profile? Maybe I don't have enough good reviews. Maybe I don't have, maybe I don't have a lot of long-term clients, whatever it is though. But in there, remove any doubt, just so that when the client goes to you and the guy goes, or the person goes, the female goes, the girl goes, hey, you know what? I don't understand why this and this. It's like, wait a minute, they've already answered that over here, right? And that's the important part, that you already thought ahead to answer that point over there as well. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy this video. If you like it, make sure to share it and make sure to press that like button as well. That also helps me too. But at the same time, also, YouTube then recommends this video to other people who are in need as well. So if this benefited you, why not take 30 seconds out of your time to like it, leave a comment, subscribe as well, so that YouTube starts recommending it to other people who may be browsing but haven't come across this video, and it could benefit them as well.